Welcome back to Constructing the Carolinas, the podcast where we explore the people and projects shaping North Carolina's future. I'm your host, Valerie Bono, Director of Business Development at Barnhill, building the Carolinas since 1949. Today's episode is a little different and a little special. I'm joined by two key members of the Barnhill family, Barry Harden, who, after more than 30 years with our company and 50 years in construction, is stepping into a well-earned retirement, and Brad Martin, who's been selected to carry the baton forward as our next leader. This isn't just a story of succession, it's a story of mentorship, grit, and what it looks like to build from within. We'll talk about how Barnhill prepares future leaders, the importance of promoting within, and the legacy Barry leaves behind. If you're part of a growing company thinking about your next generation of leadership, or just want to hear a heartfelt conversation between two people who have built something great together, you'll want to stay tuned. All right, well, Barry, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast today. And Brad, we're really glad to have you. Our first question I've got for you. So how far back did discussions about succession begin? And when was that turning point where you knew, okay, hey guys, I'm retiring, but we really need to start thinking about the succession plan?
Yeah, probably about 4.5, 5 years ago, we started discussing, that one day I'll be retiring. And, Marty said, hey, probably need 3 years. So, and not only succession in my position, we've been looking at it, succession for years and years, and we continue to do that on a regular basis, not for all positions. It's been probably 4.5, 5 years.
So 4.5, 5 years, do you feel like that was the right amount of time to prepare for this transition? And for those in the same place, other companies that are tuning in, do you think that's the right amount of time?
Yeah, but it depends on kind of the position, and also depends on, we've been in a growth mindset for the whole transition period. So you're not only replacing my position, but you're also bringing on more work where there's maybe more people need to take care of some of my duties that I had in the past when it was just me and Marty. I think we've done a pretty good job of that. We got Victor, of course, Randy and John take on a few of the things. And
So Barry, you were talking a little bit about this next question, and we were talking about leadership transitions in general. What do you think was one of the key factors that made this transition so successful in particular?
This gentleman right here. It was easy. It was the apparent person that I don't think any of our leadership thought would be anybody different. Straight out of college, he came here. He worked himself up very rapidly through the ranks. He's got what it takes. He's got the grit, and he's going to do a great job. So it was an easy decision.
Yeah, I know Brad Martin, he has the grit. And so those are some pretty big shoes to fill. Have you given him any tips or tricks or recommendations on how he could fill those shoes?
Be Brad. I guess there's a lot of things. I mean, we've spent a fair amount of time together in the last couple of years. Main thing I've told him is continue to be Brad and not try to be Barry.
Yeah, that's good advice. Well, Brad, I hope you knew when you agreed to come up here, you weren't going to be off the hook. So I've got a question for you. You've been shadowing Barry a little bit before he goes off into the sunset, right? Can you paint a picture of what that's like for you? How has it been shadowing him, and what key takeaways have you gotten?
Yeah, I mean, so I think, kudos to the leadership group that, kind of took the time to realize that we needed to have some time together, right? My previous role in the director of operations, right? We spent a lot of time together, right? And, naturally, my entire career I've worked with Barry, right? So it wasn't, it was really just trying, I think, to understand the different things that he does in his role, right? That was probably it, just, taking the time to listen, be part of it, and slowly, try to take some of those tasks on. So.
Mm. Have there been any tasks that have stood out to you that you're like, oh gosh, this is going to be?
Well, I think, Marty alluded to it, right? The staffing of this organization is very difficult, right? So it's, hard to appreciate until you have to do it. But, I think, I've said it before, right? It's a list of people, right? But they're individuals with their own lives. It's not as easy as moving chess pieces on the board, if you will, right? So it's easier to build buildings, quite frankly, than it is to, manage that process.
Yeah, I certainly don't envy that. I've seen you use the word chessboard, and that's exactly what it's like because you're juggling the schedules, milestones, thinking about what's coming up in the pipeline, who's going to be available. It is certainly a mind game and a chess match, but I know you're going to win every time. So, Barry, another question for you. So, a well executed transition, right? It's more than just passing the baton. How did you communicate with everybody within the organization to ensure a really smooth transition and to set not only Brad up for success, but to keep the company continuing on a successful path?
Yeah, I think we communicated pretty early, and I think maybe take baby steps at first of okay, go to Brad on this, go to Brad on that. But as Brad started getting more to phone calls and I started getting less, that's the more I started stepping aside. I'll give kudos to Marty. I felt like at first, man, he's trying to push me out. But he had a very good plan of making sure that I was less involved in some of the decision making, less involved in some of the meetings. And as started to like it a little bit, I've always been a person that if you pick up on something and it's easy for you, I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to pile some more on. So, that's, I think if I got any other advice for Brad is, if a person's doing his job, let him do it.
All right, I'll go back to about 2007. I'm driving to work one morning and phone rings and it's Barry Harden. He says, man, you've been driving that raggedy old company truck for a while. I got a brand new truck sitting up here in Raleigh. How'd you like to come up here and pick it up? I'm like, all right, man, I get it tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's Friday, I get it. I go to Raleigh, I pick up my brand new truck. I'm driving back to my job down in Bertie County and phone rings and it's Barry Harden. He says, how's that new truck? And I said, man, that truck is great. I appreciate it, boss. He goes, good. With that said, he said, Monday morning you need to be in Greensboro to go up and help out on a job. I'm like, Greensboro? I have to stay out of town. He goes, well, sometimes we have to do here at Barnhill, but you only be about 2 weeks. Well, long story short, 16 weeks later, and I'm still in Greensboro. About 8 weeks into the job, the phone rings one night, and they're working late up there, and it's Barry Harden. He says, you want another new truck? I said, no, I'll tell you what, I'd like to tell you what to do with this new truck. So the moral of the story is if Barry Harden ever offers you a new truck, don't take it because you're going to end up going to work out of town somewhere.
Barry, I want to thank you for everything that you've done for Barnhill over the years. When I think about Barnhill, you're the definition of what we're all about, with your commitment, integrity, always doing the right thing. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have learned from you and worked with you. I think what I'm most grateful for, like I said to you last night, is not just the time working with you, but becoming a real family member with you. And there's so many Barryisms that I've learned along the way, but the one that sticks with me the most is there's only one kind of done, and it's done. And can't wait to celebrate you today. Your legacy will go on. We got you. We'll keep it going forward. And congratulations on 30 years and going out on top.
Barry, appreciate everything you've done for us in the past. It's been many years since you first hired me. I remember meeting you in Bojangles and in Greenville, and I didn't know what the hell I was getting into, but it's been a very good ride. I appreciate everything you've done, taught with me, and appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.
Barry, I appreciate the opportunity you give me over the years. Moved from project engineer to project executive under your leadership, and really appreciate it.
So with you stepping into this role, what adjustments have had to be made, if anything? And then who's going to backfill the roles that you were filling before? And how did leadership ensure that you were going to be set up for success to continue to keep this fine-oiled machine moving forward?
I think, part of the answer is, I've taken on some of the direct tasks naturally. The larger executive group has, taken some of Barry's tasks and divided that up to other folks, which is nice. The how do we, kind of backfill? I think, in Jamie's role as director of operations, right, he's going to play a pivotal role with me as we try to lead the operations of the business, right? So,
Barry, what's one piece of advice you would give to companies that are just now starting to think about succession planning, or maybe they haven't started thinking about it, but maybe they're listening to this episode and they're like, oh, maybe we need to be thinking about it sooner rather than later?
Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah, sooner than later. But in our case, or not just our case, it's hard. Promote within. I think we do a good job of that. And yeah, I kind of thought promote within would be the answer, but that is the answer. It's not go outside. If you don't have someone in your organization, then you've waited way too late. And I think, like I say, repeat myself, and I'll continue to repeat. Within is the only way, as far as I'm concerned. You don't know what you're getting from outside until you kick the tires on it after it's too late. But we know what we got when you promote within.
I think that's a true testament too to how we've gotten to where we are.
Mhm.
This year we're celebrating 76 years, but the people that we have are definitely on the right seat of the bus.
Yeah. I mean, I was a superintendent when I started to work here. So it was within.
Yeah. Started as a superintendent and
Yep.
retiring as a VP.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, what's the one thing that you think companies should be doing now to prepare future leaders, even if retirement might not be on the horizon quite yet?
I think, what I got to experience in the first Barnhill Leadership Academy, I thought was great. It continues to, develop the talent in the business to be well-rounded, right? So you get to learn all the different aspects of this business through that program, right? You're learning about safety and risk management and contractual things and insurances and, all the other stuff. I think most folks kind of think of this business as you're either a project manager or superintendent, but there's so much more to running a business. And that gives you a good, balance to see that. Probably the other thing that I got to experience in my career was, had an opportunity to lead a design build job, coming off another project, kind of being a one-man pre-con on the job to rolling it out through design to, performance testing and at the end, which was a huge challenge, but a very good testament to the folks that asked me to do that. And again, I think, just being well-rounded is really the answer,
Yeah. I'm going to go off script here and thinking about what you said and promoting from within. You've got a huge group of people in this room right now, over 100 employees, thinking about, they might be sitting here thinking, wow, how could I become a VP, right? What are some of the key characteristics that you think someone should that embody that could get promoted to a VP level? And that's for both of you.
Mine's simple. Do your job, do it well. You'll be recognized.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, I think it's, I don't know that there's necessarily one thing. This is a hard business, right? So you have to have that gumption, that grit to want to be successful. It's just like anything else. You're going to get out what you put in. So, as we talk to young project engineers starting their career, right, that's the message is just, learn the business, right? It's a business of experience, right? So you have to have those experiences. So yeah, I mean, it's a hard work business that's never going to change, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, but I would challenge anybody, especially the younger folks, be a sponge, absorb the information. We've got some incredible folks with wisdom within this company who are still here. and take the time to really shadow them, get to know them, and observe what they're encouraging you to learn, right? They're just helping everybody succeed and grow.
So about 24 years ago, Barry hired me at Barnhill. He gave me my first shot, and he's been my mentor ever since. We did countless projects together over the years. He taught me to never quit, never give in, always push forward, and a great deal of perseverance and grit. One thing I'll always remember about Barry is he let me fail, but he never let me become a failure. So, thank you.
Barry, you are the standard bearer. I thank you for that, for being in this division and being the standard bearer for what we do, how we do it. Many times you and I've had conversations, we have different approaches, but I've always respected your approach and the effectiveness of you getting things done. Thank you for that. Thank you for what the way you've supported me over the years. Even when we didn't agree, you've always been there for me, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Barry, just want to thank you for everything you did for me in my career and everything you've done for the Barnhill Building Group. Had 24 years of working with you and wouldn't want to work for anybody else. Thanks for everything you did.
Barry, I appreciate everything you did. You hired me 20 years ago. There's nobody with this company I respect more or whose opinion I value more, and wish you luck. Thank you.
So this one, I want you to be honest. What's one thing about the job that you won't miss when you're retired? And then what's something that you know you're going to be having coffee or just sitting on your porch and you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to miss that?
Well, believe it or not, John, I will miss some conflict. Okay. He's always said, hey, man, you love conflict. I really don't, but I'm not scared of it. So, but I'll miss some of the conflict in this business. And I think a lot of the things we put in place in the last few years is helped us to where not going to have as much conflict. And that's the key. What I will miss, again, is the people, seeing, buildings get built, complete, owners happy, Saturday, Sunday afternoon or whatever, you ride around and you see something you've been a part of. That's what I'm going to miss is being a part of this organization, being a part of the construction industry.
Yeah.
It's all I've ever done, and I've loved it.
On that note, what are some of the most notable projects that you're going to remember forever?
Obviously a successful one, but ZDC, believe it or not, it was a joint venture. It was a very successful job. Worked with Dave Weiss, a couple more in here, and it was the journey to get the job. We had never built a data center, so they wanted to team us up with a international company. They did. But it was a good situation, but we were there because of our relationship with the client. They were there because of their expertise, and we were able to get some expertise out of that.
So Brad, you've seen Barry in action quite a bit. What's the one thing you've learned watching him lead?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things not for the podcast necessarily. In all seriousness, I think what I've learned is, Barry's very direct, right? I mean, where you stand, right? I think that's admirable, right? The directness that's needed in this business, honestly. And, I think, through that, he's, had a lot of folks, draw respect from that, quite frankly.
Barry, you've done a phenomenal job throughout your career mentoring people, and you've mentored a lot of people over the years. What's the one piece of advice you hope that they'll always remember?
I think biggest thing I've learned, and I would love to make sure that anybody take away anything I got to say today, is the business we're in it changes daily. We have many, many things, and I can sit here and talk about it for 30 minutes of, the weather, you name it. But be prepared every day for your plans to change. and not once, but several times. And how you handle that is the way you'll succeed.
If your colleagues could write the Barry playbook for success, what would the number one rule be?
Don't break the best practices rules, period. That's it. It's simple. It's not easy and I think Mr. B said this back when he started this company before I was here. You keep it in the road. When it gets in the ditch, you're in trouble. So you just keep it in the road. So on those best practices, you just got to stay on the highway with those.
Brad, so Barry's had 30 years to perfect his approach at Barnhill. And I was corrected on this. So 30 years at Barnhill, 20 years outside of Barnhill, 50 years in construction. Brad, what's the one lesson from him that you hope to carry forward?
Oh, geez. Probably what Barry's, kind of preach best is, it's a business that needs immediate action, right? I'm naturally more of a blue and he's clearly a red, right? So I have a tendency to kind of overthink things, but at the end of the day, we have to make decisions. They need to be thought through, but they also need to be quick, right? The problems that we solve every day don't solve themselves, right? So without that immediate action, right, you're not going to be successful.
Hey Barry, we wish you the best on your retirement, and so congratulations to you. I remember when you and Austin Barnhill came to Austin Ridge Middle School when I was first project engineer. Hadn't been out of the trailer much, truthfully, and you asked me what area of the building we were in. I really had no idea. I took a guess, and Tim was like, "No, Polly, we're in a different area." So I'll never forget that, and I don't think y'all will either. But I'll also remember when you told me maybe a certain sub needs to take a break, and then an owner needed to take a break. But I think that stuck with me, and just that people need a break sometimes. But I'm proud to have worked with you all these years. Thank you.
Hey Barry, this is Victor. I wouldn't be at Barnhill without you. I have enjoyed the 5 years and 3 months we've worked together. The only regret I've got is like that old Johnny Cash song, "I wish I had known you when you were a little younger."
So Barry, if you could sum up your career in 3 words, what would they be?
Exciting, challenging, and fulfilling. That's the 3 words I came up with. It's just been a challenging but exciting, but most of all fulfilling. Could be happier as I go out of the life and the work I've done and the people I've worked with. Just great.
Well, Brad, are you going to actually let Barry enjoy his retirement, or do you think you're still going to be getting a few calls, perhaps with advice, or what do you think?
I think there's probably some other folks that'll be calling Barry probably more so than me, but obviously Barry's committed to this business, and I'm sure he would take a phone call for some advice. But the beauty of it is he deserves to be left alone. Quite honestly, I mean, you work hard in this business, and he deserves to enjoy his retirement. So we'll see how it goes. But he did actually say yesterday I could call him, so that's a step in the right direction. So.
That's good that the door is still open. I'm dying to know. I mean, I don't think I asked this, but what are you going to do, Barry, in retirement? Like, do you have a plan? Do you have a trip planned?
Yes, me and my wife's going to do some traveling. I'm going to give her back some of my time that I've deprived her of for a little while, and then she's going to say, "You need to go somewhere," probably. But we're going to travel some. I love to play golf, so I'm going to try to get my handicap down from a few strokes.
Well, it'll certainly be fun and relaxing. I'm also dying to know, with 30 years at Barnhill specifically, and then seeing all the folks in the room today, what was the company like when you first started? And then what would you say has changed the most in your career?
Okay. When I started, there was less than 27 people in the building division. We hard bid all our work. And we still kept a good reputation back then that we have today. But even that reputation back then, you had to go hard bid another job. So when you finished it up, we self-performed a little bit of our work. Obviously, we all know now most of our work is negotiated, CM at risk. We do a little bit of design build, and as Marty said earlier, we're going to expand on that. We're a much more professional company than we were back then. Take that like you want it, but it's been fun the whole way. But we have definitely changed over the years, and we've grown. And it's just different, I guess. But it's different, but it's the same.
So what I'd like to do before we turn it over to the room to ask questions, we have a signature question on the podcast. It's actually, if you could see any building at all be built in the Carolinas, what would that project be? And it could be anything. We've had guests come on and say, boy, we want to see a Chick-fil-A built in Clayton, right? So, I mean, it could be anything. What's the one building, Barry, you would love to see be built in North Carolina?
Oh. New country club where I'm going to play golf. A baseball, and that's true.
Baseball stadium. So that's a really high response rate that we get all the time.
Yeah.
MLB, that would be fun. Or if anybody would like to fund a really nice country club, brand new country club in Barry's neighborhood, I know he would appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, let me add to that then. So I'm actually a big baseball fan. We've actually gone to all but 5 baseball parks in the United States, and the one in Canada we hadn't gone to, but that's one of the 5. So if we get one here, I could easily get there.
Yeah.
And
will that get you out of retirement if we win that project?
no.
No. Okay, Brad, what about you? What would you like to see be built in North Carolina?
Wow. That's a very interesting question. I mean, I would say, let's stick with something we're good at that we can build, right? So, I've had the pleasure of building all kinds of different, types of projects. So, everyone's different. So, I don't know the answer to that. That's a crazy question, to try to think of here. But, we've had the ability to build some really cool, really unique stuff. And so, if I was asked the question before we had those jobs, I probably would have never guessed any of those projects, right? So anyway, tough one.
There's a lot of Barryisms, as we call them, that we've heard throughout Barry's time here. Brad, what is your absolute favorite Barryism?
Well, it was mentioned a bit ago, but probably the most prevalent is done, right? It's a extra emphasis on is it really done, right? So
I think I create that.
So yeah, I mean there's probably some colorful ones, not for public consumption. But yeah, done is the epitome in operations, right? I mean, we challenge our teams, ourselves to finish strong, finish projects, and done becomes kind of the culmination of, that stamp on it, if you will. So.
All right, well, we're done.
Cool, done.
Guys. A huge thank you to Barry Harden and Brad Martin for joining us on this very special episode of Constructing the Carolinas. Barry's career is a powerful reminder that leadership isn't just about getting projects done, it's about lifting others up, building trust, and always staying true to your values. Brad, it's clear the future is in good hands. To learn more about Barnhill's work and how we're continuing to grow across North Carolina, Visit barnhillbuilt.com and follow us on LinkedIn. And don't forget to subscribe to Constructing the Carolinas wherever you get your podcasts or catch us on YouTube. This show is produced by Walk West. I'm Valerie Bono, and whether you're building careers, communities, or a new country club for Barry, we're always working to shape stronger Carolina communities together. Until next time.